Now we're going to have questions and discussion. And to get things started, I'll ask a couple questions and we'll throw it out to the audience. So would somebody on the panel like to explain what the difference is between new space or commercial space and traditional space? Jerry's going to do it.
So, working for NASA, there's a difference between what all space is. And even, I work at a Goddard Space Flight Center. We're in Maryland. A lot of people don't know us until I say Hubble. That's where Hubble came from. That's the center where Hubble originated. So we do a lot of science. All of the stuff is science, earth science, astrophysics, heliophysics, and a little bit of planetary. And space, it divides into things. The people that do the science and the research and the manned missions. All space, people think about the manned missions. They think about going to the moon, they think about the International Space Station, they think about all these things that have to do with manned presence in space and going to other planets. But it also is the science, and that part, people take it for granted. But that's still happening. All these weather maps that you see, all the talks about the CMEs that are the coronal mass ejections and all that stuff, it's part of space. It's part of what NASA is. And then we have the new people coming into space that are the SpaceX and Orbital, ATK, and all of them. And they're still going into the manned mission. It's like going to the moon, going back into space. So I think the differentiation now into new space is things take less time because all the old NASA, all the 60s and the 70s work is what is allowing and facilitating people to do things faster and cheaper because all the ground designs were done. So when I hear the old space and the new space, I always want to know, are they still talking about manned missions or unmanned missions? And what we do at Goddard is all science. It's all dedicated to that side of space.
I think Luisa wants to jump in here.
I think the main difference I will see the main difference between old space and new space, that old space is mostly government driven. All the pressure, all the burden, all the expenses, all the responsibility and the liability fall on the government, budget, all this. And new space is where all of us, the rest of mortals, get to participate of this market. So I think the main difference is between government and being able that the rest of us have access to space.
I will, you can switch. Okay. I would actually add the word entrepreneurship. I think when you think of new space, it's not necessarily because you want to forget about old space or you want to call it new space and old space. We actually had this conversation in the International Astronautical Congress in Israel about 2 weekends ago. It's more about having the opportunity to bring new technologies. And some of these new technologies, new space, even though they start by entrepreneurs, later on, they're still getting government funding. So I wouldn't necessarily go back and say that all space is everything that NASA has done, and even Orbital, or which are older companies that still have new components or new technologies that are going to play in new space. So whenever you think of it, I would think of it more of an opportunity to develop new technologies with an entrepreneurship mindset.
I'm comfortable with the term old space. If I worked for Boeing or Lockheed, I would really take umbrage. I think of what, I'll have to use the term now because I don't have another one. Traditional space is one I use. Established space. I think, for me, the contrast today is Traditional space knows how to be careful, knows how to get projects done, and is learning how to cut costs and be more entrepreneurial. United Launch Alliance, I read, is reorganizing to cut their manufacturing costs for launches by half to compete with SpaceX. New space, to me, among other things, it is entrepreneurial, it is fast moving, and it's learning how to be careful.
Maybe that's the word. It's not new space or old space. It's competitive space versus government space. Just saying.
Okay, let's go to another question. Why should Puerto Rico be a good place for commercial space? And if we get a lot of commercial space in Puerto Rico, what are the benefits to Puerto Rico?
Well, I'll start with that one since, you know, I was talking about the spaceport. Well, like I said before, when you think about commercial space, you think about entrepreneurship and where is the right place for you to make those ideas productive and come into place. Puerto Rico has currently some incentives, particularly for aerospace companies, where once you have your idea out, once you've raised some of your funding, even if you're in California where taxes are so high, you can't grow your company there. So you need somewhere where you're going to operate. And Puerto Rico is a fantastic place for it. The spaceport part, we've done a lot of research and analysis showing the actual location of the spaceport and how it comes together for the operations that all these new companies actually need to launch into space. So I think it's a perfect location and it's got some great incentives for aerospace companies.
Yes, especially because I'm active in the field of research and education. Puerto Rico presents as a holy grail of opportunities. We have access to Latin America. We have a bilingual system. We provide most of the engineers for NASA. So I think the impact that it will have on the country having a spaceport or having this industry being here, it will completely open the ideas that these new groups are having, like doing satellite manufacturing, little components, CubeSats, ground stations, research and development like Space Innova is doing. And all the little components of the space industry are not only, like you were saying, it's not only man or it's not only science, it's the whole integration of it and all the fields of study that are required to bring this industry. It's beyond just engineering, just one field of study. So it actually lets the country focus in opening to all those students from political sciences, students from communications, secretarial, administration, budgets, compliance. We need them. We need compliance officers in our companies. We also need, of course, engineers, but we need welders. We need manufacturers. We need all sorts of business. Okay. Is that good?
Yeah, that'll do. But we can have something from the other panelists as well on this topic. We can have something from the other panelists as well on this topic. Louise asked, is that good enough?
If you want to add something.
Yes.
Okay, go.
Puerto Rico has a lot of small companies. People aren't really aware that most of the stuff that rockets are made out of is made by small companies. For the news, at least this, you know, there's nuts and bolts, there's space qualified screws, electronics. Those are all candidates, you know, for moving to Puerto Rico or being built in Puerto Rico. We have, we'll talk about it later, the carbon fiber work that's being done here has a lot of potential in both aerospace and space. You know, the 787 is carbon fiber. So a lot of small companies can move here or be started here, and the whole new space movement is a lot of small startups. So there is a potential to to leapfrog a lot of the existing space companies.
So I wanted to add, I don't live on the island, but I have friends that we went together to Maya West, and a lot of them are leaving. And there are people my age that we have 10 plus years of experience that they're trying to go somewhere because there are no opportunities here. And I think between the new graduates that are coming out and the people that are here that already have experience but their companies have left, there's a lot of potential, and it's the time to take advantage of these opportunities, and they can create their own small businesses. They can leverage that knowledge and stop preventing the people with experience leaving. Because in the one thing that is very important at this for space is you need people with experience. You need people that have some background, that have some knowledge. And it's good to get people, the new kids coming out of school, but at least at NASA, they look at the companies when you submit a proposal, they look at your resume and they see what kind of experience are the people that are proposing. So all this talent that is leaving, that maybe their experience is not in aerospace, but they have experience in manufacturing, they have experience managing different processes, might be a good way to get them and to stay in the island. And like I thought, we have SBIRs and we have other projects. We have technologies available that companies can take our technologies and build companies on top of that. Stuff that we have already developed and test for space. So they just need to give a commercialization focus or emphasis in it. So I think the time is great. We need to, when I say we, because I still think I live in Puerto Rico, we need to be better at keeping them in.
So just, there's incentives. There's tax incentives. There's infrastructure here. I mean, nothing is harder for a startup to find space, especially, you know, the technical space that already exists. And to just, I mean, that's what incubators and accelerators do, is provide these startups with that space to be able to go in and do their work, do the hard, you know, engineering stuff. That exists right here. You're talking about a spaceport, so you're talking about launch opportunities. The way I see it, I mean, Puerto Rico has a whole package. So why not is kind of the answer. Plus the weather's great. If I didn't mention that, New York gets kind of cold around this time of year.
It was 38 at my house a few days ago.
Let me throw it out to the audience for a couple of questions before the panel ends. Yes. That's a good idea.
Hello, hello. Yeah, so just one comment, and then I'd like to ask a question. And fascinating, the spaceport idea. I mean, I'm Elmer Rowan from DoD. You know, Brazil has been trying to do this for many years, and one of the key differences between Brazil and Puerto Rico is the fact that, you know, they have to run through all those export license and ITAR issues, which Puerto Rico doesn't have to deal with. So that's a huge plus, probably the greatest plus for Puerto Rico, especially to attract foreign talent and as well companies into the island. So that's a huge plus for us. And we actually have been currently within the Department of Defense and Brazilian government look at ways how we can collaborate. So that might be a conversion point, could be that spaceport or other activities in Puerto Rico. On the other end, the space used to be, the risk posture used to be mostly governmental. So the risk of development and launching was mostly the government, even that the government's always been risk averse. The question is, do you expect now as we move towards more commercial space and in that sense, to be the commercial sector, be the one taking on the risk on developing these capabilities, or there still be a reliance on government to take the risk and basically just provide the leverage for industry to develop the capabilities?
Answer, try to take a stab at that. The first thing is to remember, you know, there is a balance between the bottom line when it comes to private industry, commercialization. You got the bottom line, and then you have the inherent risk of going to space. That will never change. It's always there. It's very difficult, and it's very more difficult when you want to sustain it over a long time. So if you don't, you know, so you have to cross those two. I think the problem you deal with is expensive to go to space unless you can make it really cheap, which is very difficult because you got quality systems and procedural systems and controls that you need to maintain and continue supporting, and that's expensive. So the thing is the government understand that. So what will happen is the government will depend more on the industry to launch those particular satellites and rockets, like we're doing right now with the SpaceX and others. The problem is, can the industry survive by itself without that government support? And I think it will be very difficult, primarily because of that cost of getting to space and maintaining it.
Okay, we have time for one more question. We've just been told that we actually have a half hour less than is on the agenda. So who wants to take the last question?
Anita, I was inspired by what you were saying. We are NGWorks. We are a small, engineering firm. We do CNC manufacturing and design invention for the general manufacturing industry. So I'm here trying to pick my mind how, can I touch that what you just mentioned, these opportunities. How can we, go from what we are doing to the manufacturing sector, doing, inventions for them, machines and stuff, how we can then go and touch all what you've been saying, this technology, what these opportunities where we can find about what are those that are like low-hanging fruit for, for coming from where we are right now, right? 20-something years of being a mechanical engineer, so kind of in the age group you were mentioned there as well.
Okay, and with that, let's have a hand for our excellent panel. Oh, wait. We have to answer the question.
Good question, no answer.
So I'll try to be brief.
Go ahead.
NASA has for companies, manufacturing companies like yours, we have the SBIR/STTR, which is Small Business Innovation Research and the Small Business Technology Transfer. And what it does is NASA, which the solicitation is opening mid-November, so in about 2 weeks it's coming out. There's a list of subtopics. And all NASA centers submit what are their needs, what are the topics that they need, that they're planning, strategic topics that they're planning, that they need companies to do. So manufacturing companies can apply too because there's a lot of materials and a lot of composites and a lot of different things, and machining and different things that they need. The good thing about this is we give you money. The first 6 months, if you go for the SBIR, it's $125,000 to do a feasibility study. If what you do proven that it works, then you move into a phase 2 where you have to apply again and it gets reviewed, but that's up to, I think, $250,000 for 2 years for you to build a prototype. And after that, if it works and everything comes right, then you move into a phase 3, which is that a NASA mission picks you up. And it doesn't have to be NASA. A phase 3 can be defense, can be NIST, can be NIH. For some reason, you did something that has to do with health and they want it. And that's, you become a sole source. So when a solicitation comes out, they can go to you and say, I need this company to build this for me. You don't have to compete it. You don't have to do anything. You are the person that supplies that to the government. We can talk more later. I can guide you where to go. But it's a great thing. Now we have something called the technology available. It's a subtopic on this. And it's, if you see a NASA technology from any center that you think you can apply, we license it to you for free. And you can use it as part of your proposal to further develop it into a commercial product. And again, we give you the money for you to develop this. And it's a great opportunity. It's really good if Puerto Rican companies do it because we're underrepresented. Hispanic, minorities companies are underrepresented, so that gives you a little advantage. It might be a little too late to apply because the solicitation opens in 2 weeks, but if you want to risk it and look at, they're due in January. But we can talk more about it. But for making you connect to somebody at the center, I only have 2 weeks to make that connection before we go into the blackout period. But anyway, it's a great opportunity, and it's something that we're not using in Puerto Rico, and it's something we need to start using, and the universities with small business can apply, and it's a great tool that we're not using.
All right, now let's have a great hand for it. We really don't have time for more questions. Let's have a hand for the panel.